Well, welcome back. So last time we were creating an entity so that the people within the revenue group would have this extra rate schedule that they could use. Now, one thing that we didn't cover in the last video is that sometimes when you create an entity, you want to have an interface code. Now, if you're using things that require the model import functionality, which if you're familiar with, then you will notice that an interface code is very important. Just to recap so you know what interface code is, I'll show you an example. So if we had time across, and let's say that we were trying to load revenue, and I'll just pick a file that I've used before. We'll just use this one. It's not a revenue, of course, it's cost of sales. So anyways, so you can see here that when we load information, we have like these interface codes. As you can see here, these items that are the light green color, each one of these is an interface code. This fuel and purchase power, that's an interface code which happens to be the same name as the report within UIPlanner. This is a line that's within that report. It happens to be labeled the same as well. This is a little different though. Now in UIPlanner, it's labeled Nevada Power Company, but here it's labeled Nevada Power Co. Cons, which I believe cons is consolidated. You can use more than one interface code for an entity, but this one happens to connect to the Nevada Power entity within the planning entity group. These are important if you want to load information in this way. So let's go back. So if you wanted to update a interface code for a particular entity so that you could use the model import functionality, you'll have to go to the core object editor. Sometimes when the model creates entities or when you use other methods, it already automatically creates this, but for the most part it doesn't. And so you have to come in here and update this and put it in there. In this case, I already have it copied, so I'll go there, save it in there. And by the way, we're on the I'm sorry, we didn't cover that. So when you want to come to the core object editor, you have to select entity, the entity group, in this case this one, and you have to come to the one that you're trying to change, and that was the one that we were changing, and you have to click on the interface code tab. So let's go ahead and save that. Here you can see I'm adding it to this case, which by the way, this is the interface mapping case. You'll have to talk to your admin to make sure that the appropriate case, which is this MVE interface mapping case, make sure that it's unlocked before you make any changes. Otherwise, you will get an error message that says you cannot change because it is locked. You'll also notice that there's two different columns here. There's two different interface cases that we currently have available to us. One is what we use pretty much for everything, for all entities, reports, and lines. And then there's an account one, which we only use for the accounts, which connects it to the ledger. So that when we import information using the model import, we can use the import function to link it up through the HFM account usage. So like for example, if you have a report that has a particular entity, particular wording, you could use that instead of the name that's actually in UIPlanner. For example, like here, for example, you see how this one it says right click to edit group. That's because this one actually has more than one in it. So like you can see here, there's two different spellings that you could use in your interface file to import information into UIPlanner for this particular entity. So like this one, you can see it's ODM-1 optimal domestic multifamily, which you can see here there's already one in there that's labeled that. But in the past there was one that used to be labeled this. These both will work in your import file. Now you can have a lot more. You can have, hundreds if you want, that can map information to one line, and that's fine too. And in your import file you can actually have more than one line that is basically going to the same entity or line in the model. All it will do is simply add all of those up before it imports it, which we can kind of cover more of that next time when we go over the model import functionality. But for this video, we conclude that that's how you can update the interface codes. Thank you for watching.